of the racist and one-sided narrative that media and politicians have used to spread hate and fear-mongering towards our community. Unfortunately, this was inevitable with this one-sided narrative. We call upon our local and international community to stand on the right side of justice and history, echoing our fundamental belief that every life, regardless of its ethnicity, nationality, or creed, holds equal and invaluable worth. Palestinian lives are not lesser than any other life, and that should not be a controversial statement. We implore you all to condemn the mass killings of the people of Gaza and to condemn every racist and discriminatory action taken against Palestine or Palestinians. This is an injustice that goes against every principle America holds dear, that of freedom, diversity, and inclusion. We demand an immediate ceasefire, not just as a momentary pause in violence, but as a step towards lasting and just peace. Thank you. I would now like to call Salahuddin Maksud, who will be reading CARE's statement.
God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of God Almighty be upon you all. My name is Salahuddin Maksud, CARE New Jersey Executive Director, SELAADINMAKSUT. I begin by conveying the New Jersey Muslim community's deep disappointment in our elected officials who have issued one-sided statements entirely sidelining the Palestinian perspective of the occupation and their suffering here in America. In fact, this is an understatement. We are outraged by the lack of regard for our community's concerns. Words matter, and your words, as elected officials, have shaped a twisted narrative that has dehumanized and even demonized the Muslim and Palestinian community. The hostile atmosphere, which media giants have also helped perpetuate, has given rise to a drastic spike in anti-Muslim hates across the state of New Jersey in all fields and public life. The CARE New Jersey office has not received this many calls for help since the Muslim ban of 2017. And while we're still unsure, I'm willing to bet that it's going to exceed even that. American Muslim and Palestinian families here in America are hurting. Many have lost loved ones. Many have faced hate at home. Anxiety and fear is high. Our elected officials at all levels of government have a responsibility to their constituency. Your Muslim constituents and their allies demand fair and equal treatment that uplifts their voices for the sake of justice. I want to read just a few stories just to outline some examples of the calls that we've received at CARE New Jersey. To begin, we have a physician who was employed at Hackensack Hospital, Jersey Shore, for over 2.5 years. He posted on social media in support of Palestine. He was then terminated after a Zionist colleague pressured the hospital administration. It is important to note that other physicians disagreed with termination and also agreed with his stance on Palestine. Many in his position are holding back out of fear of also being terminated. They are afraid to express themselves at work and online. The doctor wishes to have his job back, and our CARE New Jersey office is helping him in doing so. We have a teacher by the name of Nagla Badir. She's a Zionist group under the facade of anti-Semitism has targeted and smeared the Perth Amboy High School teacher, Nagla, implying that she is a Nazi and she has wanted to, that she wanted to make the burning of Israeli babies a two-sided issue. This story on Israeli babies has since been debunked. The group, which describes itself as a U.S.-based organization fighting anti-Semitism and has an audience of 135,000, called on its followers to email the superintendent of her school and went as far as listing the superintendent's email address. CARE New Jersey is monitoring her case and has made her union representative aware of the situation. A South Asian restaurant owner in South Jersey woke up Friday morning to Quran, to the Holy Quran and the manuscript being torn apart and ripped apart and scattered in front of her restaurant. The restaurant owner wishes to remain anonymous out of fear of further harassment. In Cherry Hill, New Jersey, high school students have made statements in support of Palestinian human rights, were targeted by students and parents. These parents circulated minor students' photos online in community forums, Facebook, and other places, opening them up to harassment across the township. One of the students had her hijab pulled off. A teacher also in her classroom made the statement, "Anyone who supports Palestine is a terrorist." Upon dismissal, Zionist parents entered the school hallway, intimidating Muslim Palestinian students. The students asked security if they could exit the building through the back. Their request was denied. Our Care New Jersey office is working with parents to address the issue. Noble Leadership Academy, an Islamic school here in New Jersey. A man, an unidentified man, has drove into the school in the parking lot on Thursday and Friday, yelling death threats at parents and Muslim students. The school has since moved to recess indoors, taking extra precautions to ensure Muslim students' safety as well as being. The school principal has filed a police report, surveillance footage, and investigation is pending. Our care office is calling on local law enforcement to offer security to Islamic schools and mosques across the state. And then the last case out of a Starbucks in New Jersey, where minor students in Fairlawn were wearing the Palestinian scarf and were harassed and heckled by Starbucks employees. We are continuing to work with the store manager in hopes that disciplinary action is taken against those employees. Again, this is a snippet of some of the cases that we're receiving. It's very important to know that people are actually afraid to speak up. Many people do not actually report the incidents that they are facing. So this, I can't tell you what percentage of the cases this really is, but I imagine in the next couple of weeks we're going to continue seeing stories like this. Once again, my name is Salahuddin Maksud, here in New Jersey, Executive Director, SELAEDINMAKSUT. Thank you. Which one, the name? Yes. SELAEDINMAKSUT. Questions, I think we'll hold off on questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Palestine Legal was unable to join us today because of the increasing cases that they're taking on, but one of our own, Fidat Hamad, our program and events coordinator, will be reading their statement.
Once again, this statement is from Palestine Legal. My name is Fidat Hamad, FEDAHMOHAMMED, and I will be reading the statement on their behalf. Palestine Legal expresses our firm and unequivocal solidarity with the Palestinian people in their struggle for self-determination and freedom. The events of the last few days have broken the barriers, physical and psychological, of Israel's inhumane 16-year-long siege of over 2 million Palestinians in Gaza, of 75 years of dispossession, exile, and apartheid, of Israel's invincibility and Palestinian invisibility. 8 days into what is one of the most significant acts of Palestinian resistance to Israel's nearly 8-decade-long settler colonial project in Palestine, it is clear that Israel is bent on waging a vengeful genocidal war on the people of Gaza once again. Palestinian human rights organization INHEC is documenting the Israeli army's relentless attack by air, sea, and land against the civilian population in Gaza, which has already destroyed dozens of houses with their residents still inside, residential and commercial buildings, and has wiped out entire Palestinian families. There is no equivalence, moral or otherwise, between Israel's nearly 8 decades of ceaseless colonial violence and the resistance that it has engendered. We can only address the tragic loss of life by addressing its root causes. U.S. complicity in Israel's decade-long military occupation and an apartheid system against Palestinians is one of those causes and must be stopped. Rather than leverage its influence to stop the genocide that Israeli leaders have openly called for, Washington has expressed unwavering support for Israel's actions and announced it will send additional weaponry to Israel, on top of the nearly $4 billion in military aid it sends annually. As a legal organization supporting the Palestine movement in the U.S., Palestine Legal is committed to supporting those organizing for Palestine at this critical moment. We are witnessing a dramatic increase in attacks on people taking a stand in support of Palestinians, including violent assaults, smear campaigns, censorship, and racist anti-Palestinian rhetoric across the board. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Next, Dina Sayed Ahmed, the CARE New Jersey Communications Director, will read personal statements from Rutgers Law students.
So I'm here today on behalf of the Students for Justice in Palestine at Rutgers University School of Law. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Dina, and again, I'm speaking today on behalf of my colleagues at Rutgers Law Students for Justice in Palestine. Last week, in a vicious attempt to smear a fellow student group, the Jewish Law Students Association at Rutgers University School of Law disseminated an email to more than 20 other students, implying that the Students for Justice in Palestine group, their Day of Resistance rally, could subject other students to harm. In the email, the JSA wrote, and I quote, "If you do come to school and see SJP doing their thing, do not engage them," end quote. JSA then signed off the email saying, quote, "God forbid an actual emergency occurs, call 911 and not the Rutgers Police Department," end quote. Separately, a student bar representative also emailed over 20 other law students sharing screenshots of a conversation between himself and a fellow student bar representative who was Palestinian and Muslim. The Palestinian student had shared a reel with this other student, clearing up misconceptions about the Israeli war on Gaza, like the lie that was told about Hamas beheading babies, which we all now know was completely fabricated. The student who had shared the screenshots then wrote in an email that he is, quote, "taking receipts of the law students who are publicly supporting Hamas. See the attached screenshots of these individuals. Please share with your friends," end quote. This is what a student wrote about his colleagues to multiple other students. At the undergraduate level, on the Rutgers University New Brunswick campus, the Students for Justice in Palestine planned for a protest but was forced to move online following hateful vandalism that these students felt jeopardized their safety. This vandalism came after the university president, Jonathan Holloway, issued a statement that students felt was explicitly one-sided. It is worth noting that Rutgers University maintains an MOU with Tel Aviv University to further collaboration in the form of a $665 million project. We've also seen another case of intimidation at university this week. 5 first-year medical students at Rowan University are now facing academic review following posts they've made sharing news about Israel's war on Gaza. This all has a muzzling effect. It prevents Palestinian students from sharing their stories and the realities of Israel's war on Gaza, and instead succumbs us to one mainstream narrative that is often inaccurate. What's glaring is that these same universities, these well-renowned research universities, also boast of exceptional faculty who've made strides in human rights and genocide studies. But then we stand here today witness to Israel's active and ongoing ethnic cleansing of Palestine and genocide of Gaza, something which has been authenticated by nonpartisan bodies like the UN, Amnesty International, and Human Rights Watch. And we listen as these university officials issue one-sided statements or statements that dehumanize and erase Palestinians altogether. We watch as students at these very universities are maligned when they stand and speak up in support of Gaza and in support of Gazans as they rise up against an illegal 16-year siege and blockade that is in violation of international law. This cannot continue. Schools and universities have historically been the bedrock of social activism and protests. But when university admins take no measures to protect the Palestinian and Muslim students from their colleagues' smears and character defamations, these universities then become complicit in this sort of silencing of Palestinian and Muslim students. And this beckons a question about their commitment to safe environments and academic integrity. These character defamations have real and tangible impact, as Salahuddin pointed in his statement from New Jersey. The impact can range from employment terminations to academic probations, as we've already been seeing. But the tide is shifting. A CNN poll showed that 54% of Americans who are 35 years old and younger sympathize with the Palestinian call for freedom. Universities here in New Jersey, where Muslims and Palestinians specifically make up a sizable and impactful segment of the population, should immediately stand on the right side of history and, at the very least, make space for Palestinian students and Muslim students and other students who are sympathetic to the Palestinian call to speak up without fear of retaliation or defamation, whether that comes from their own colleagues or university and faculty officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Next, we're going to have Janan Mathadi speak about her experiences.
Hi everyone, my name is Janan Mathadi, Jeanammatari. I'm a writer and I'm a member of the Palestinian American Community. Welcome to Little Palestine. I was asked here today to speak to you about the family that I have in Gaza, about my cousin who was trapped living in Gaza as a Jerusalemite only because her Gazan husband was denied a Jerusalem ID after they got married. Did you know that Palestinians are not permitted to upgrade their IDs? A Jerusalem ID is the highest status, and so she was forced to downgrade hers. I was asked here to tell you about my extended family who went to Gaza as American citizens for a wedding just 2 days prior to Israel's bombardment, who are now trapped with no exit in sight. I'm supposed to tell you about them and what they're experiencing, but I cannot do that because in addition to cutting off access to food, water, fuel, Israel has cut off access to their electricity and we have not heard from them in days. The blue check marks on WhatsApp stopped appearing at 6 a.m. on Friday morning. So while I cannot speak about them and their well-being, I can certainly speak for them and every other Palestinian, including Palestinian Americans, because we are all collectively feeling and experiencing the same things. Grief, anxiety, insomnia, paranoia, and anger. Anger for all of you in this room. For the 7 decades of ignoring our voices and our pleas, warning you of getting to this exact place that we are in today. A genocide. Anger for the lack of care and irresponsible journalism that has vilified a people under brutal oppression, occupation, and siege for 75, 56, and 16 years respectively. If you look at the headlines just moments before genocides throughout history took place, they are nearly identical to those filled with unsubstantiated and retracted claims that you circulated about my people 1 week ago. You consistently portray oppressed people fighting Goliath-esque colonial powers as barbarians and brutal savages, so that when the massacres begin, or in the case of Palestine, continue, public opinion and hatred for us is turned into justification for our death. And you have never been held accountable, not even once. Because of your reported billions of dollars from the US in the form of bombs, white phosphorus bombs that burn endlessly through your skin until it reaches your bones after it simply touches the air, are being dropped minutes apart on a city of 1 million children. Because of your reporting, the Israeli government has begun arming Israeli settlers, encouraging them to incite violence against Palestinians in occupied Palestine. Palestinians in Palestine cannot leave their homes without the threat of being shot to death by the Israeli military, police, settlers, all of whom are radicals. Because of your reporting, Palestinians throughout the global Western diaspora are being arrested for protesting the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. They are losing their jobs, their scholarships, the very idea of safety in their own homes away from home, places that we have contributed greatly to. Because of your reporting, Palestinian Americans are living amongst our neighbors paranoid, wondering if maybe they believe what you say about us and our cause. We are not sleeping, we are not eating. How can we when our brothers and sisters in Gaza are being collectively starved to death, waiting to die of hunger or thirst or a bombing? It is dangerous to be Palestinian in America. Just yesterday, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy in Chicago was murdered after his landlord broke into his home and stabbed him 26 times because of your reporting. This is media malpractice. Journalism is a righteous profession. I have a degree in journalism because I wanted my life's work to be righteous. In every other righteous profession, there are standards and there are repercussions for negligence and inciting harm onto others. Why are there none for you? You deliberately use language like Israelis killed and Palestinians died. You use terms like Hamas run when speaking of hospitals and schools housing children. You put terms like conflict and war in your headlines, alluding to the idea that 1 million children, who are the majority of the death toll in Gaza, are somehow equally as powerful as a nuclear war machine such as Israel. You are asking us for our stories, and it is too late. It's too late. While bombs were dropping on our children, you were shooting memorial videos in 4K with beautiful photo montages of those connected to Israelis who died. I have never seen Palestinians afforded even a semblance of the compassion and humanity like that for neither our living nor for our dead. You are demanding that civilians in Gaza take interviews with you as you attempt to dodge their impending death from the sky. Even if they can, or when they can take an interview, you have the nerve to ask them to condemn violence as buildings filled with innocent people, entire families are exploding in the backgrounds of their Zooms. You have a duty to report the truth. It is an obligation as journalists, an ethical obligation that no one is currently upholding. And I know that you are sitting at the edges of your seats, waiting for all of us to stop speaking so that you can ask us about our thoughts on violence and condemn resistance. If your first question to a Palestinian speaking isn't, how can we stop this, then you should hold back those questions. Report the truth. Tell them that Israel has had a brutal chokehold on Gaza for 16 years. Tell them that Israel has upheld an illegal, violent occupation of Palestine and Palestinians for the last 56 years, all paid for with US tax dollars. Tell them about our Nakba 75 years ago. Tell your audiences to call their representatives, to write letters and emails and sign petitions, and tell them to protest American bombs being dropped on 1 million children. They say that the pen is mightier than the sword, so tell them the truth. There is no difference between a journalist and those giving the order to drop the bombs if you do not do that.
Next, we're going to be joined by Da'at Fatis. We'll talk about her experience with her father still in Gaza.
Hello, my name is Dua Abukar. I am a college student who is studying psychology. I am a 24-year-old Palestinian American woman from Clifton, New Jersey. I am here today to speak about what is happening in Palestine and to share with you my story. Today, I am speaking on behalf of the 500 U.S. citizens that are in Gaza and 87 who are actively trying to get out. There has been a clear double standard when it comes to getting United States citizens out. My father, and United States American citizen, is currently stuck in Gaza with 2.2 million Palestinians who are under an illegal military blockade and siege. In the beginning of September, my father took some time off to spend with his family. My father was actually in the process of building a home there. He went to visit my family members in Gaza. He had planned to be back by October 20, which is in 4 days. Then everything changed. My father now had to make the difficult decision of staying behind with his family and not accepting any assistance to try to get out. My family is distraught and very worried about my father and about my family and about the 2.2 million Palestinians in Gaza. My father, who I have looked up to my entire life, has chosen not to leave because he believes, and I quote, "My life shouldn't be more valuable than a Palestinian's just because I am an American citizen. I would not leave my own brothers, my own sisters, my own nieces and nephews, my own mother to save my own life. If I die, I die with them." I need my father to stay alive. I stay up at night, every night, praying and hoping he comes home safely. My family cannot and will not bear the thought of living without my father. We need him safe, we need him home, and we need this violence to end. Right now, my father is in North Gaza with my uncles and cousins, where are they hitting the most, and knowing that any day, any time, any second, he could be gone, and I won't even know it. I don't know if he's not answering me because he was killed or because he doesn't have internet access. I am waiting by my phone, always waiting to see his text, to hear his phone, to hear his voice. Do you understand how scary it is and how mentally draining it is, knowing that you could lose your father any second? Imagine this is your own father, your own mother, your own daughter, your own sons. You would do anything to protect each other and make sure they are safe. Well, my father isn't safe. The Israelis, the Israelis told the people in the north of Gaza to evacuate to the south of Gaza. The men, including my father, stayed in North Gaza while they made sure the women and children evacuated to the south for safety measures. The Israelis killed 70 people while en route to the south. I am tired of our voices not being heard. We want this violence to end. We need the 75-year-long occupation of Palestine to end. The events of October 7th were absolutely tragic, but this is not unprovoked. This did not come from nowhere. This is the result of 75 years of anger, anguish, pain, fear, and frustration, of having to fight for their own basic human rights and having their only homes they have known all their lives taken away from them. Every hour, 14 Palestinians are killed. They are killing innocent people, women, children, a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 4-month-old baby. Let that sink in. No matter what, I will always speak up. And I want everyone to keep speaking up for our people, for Palestine, until we see justice. If you don't know or understand what's going on, it is your responsibility to get educated. The last thing I want to say is I hope you see this, Bella. And I want you to know I am so proud to be your daughter. And God willing, you will come back home safe to my arms. Don't let the occupier take away your strength. You will survive this.
This concludes our press conference. We will be holding phone banking. Yes. Rania Mustafa, our executive director, will say a few words.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rania Mustafa, Rania Mustafa. I'm the executive director of the Palestinian American Community Center. I was originally supposed to speak about the cases that have been happening to our Palestinian American, Arab American, Muslim American community members. But honestly, I didn't have time. Why? Because the stories have been coming in nonstop, from universities, from schools, from workplaces, where people are being targeted for being Palestinian.
support for speaking up about Palestine. And I want all of you to understand the burden that we carry as Palestinian Americans and as people who speak up for Palestine. Like Duad said, she's a human being. She's not just a news clip. She's not just a news story. She's a human being with emotions. She's terrified if her father will make it back. Every day, we sit waiting on our phones to see if our friends and our family are alive. Do you know how that feels? It's been emotionally draining dealing with telling people why we're human, why we deserve mercy, why we deserve recognition, why our people should live. It's been exhausting. It's been mentally, physically, emotionally, in every way draining. Because I'm here to tell you I deserve to live. These people deserve to live. The 2.2 million people in Gaza deserve to live. No life should ever be lost due to violence. We don't want that. And Palestinians have been trying to bring this message. We want peace. We want peace. Palestinians want peace. We need this understood and clear and everywhere. Palestinians want peace. But this is not the way to achieve peace. Putting 2.2 million Palestinians under an illegal military occupation and military blockade and siege is not the way to achieve peace. I was watching a media report yesterday of one of our community members who's currently stuck in Gaza with her 3 kids, her youngest being 2 months old, 8 weeks old. And the reporter felt with her and sympathized with her. But what did he say at the end? He said, civilians like you do not deserve this. Why did she have the platform? Because she was American. And I'm using my American right, my freedom of speech to say that she's not only a civilian because she's American. There are plenty of, there are Palestinians are being killed and bombarded, and missiles are dropping on civilians every day. And we need to put this to stop. We need this to stop. And aside from that, again, coming back to, honestly, if I show you the pages that I have and the stories that I'm getting, even as I'm up here today, I have text messages coming in of people telling me their stories. One person being told she can no longer work in this company if she continues to post. Another person being told that his parents are being contacted and being called terrorists because their son posted pro-Palestinian, not anything crazy, pro-Palestinian posts. College students, if I tell you what's happening in Columbia and Harvard, we need you all to see this. It is insane what is happening. It's not right what's happening. We are American, we are human as everybody else, and we have the rights to share our thoughts and to share our beliefs and to fight for a world of freedom of all oppression. We as Palestinians, and I'll end with this, we as Palestinians want peace. We want a world where our kids can grow up proud of the world we live in, proud of the things we say. We want a world where everybody deserves peace. Everybody deserves justice, and everybody has a right to live. That's the world I want to raise my kids in. And you all can help do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rania. Fuad Maksud, the Care New Jersey Executive Director, would love to say one last word.
I just want to make it clear. You might be surprised to hear this, but the United States has blasphemy laws. Yes, blasphemy laws. It is blasphemous in the United States to be critical of the Israeli government. And you should ask yourself that. Why? Why are people losing their jobs because they support the Palestinian cause? From physicians to teachers, no one is safe. Why is our government and entities in this country so protective of a foreign government? This is a question we have to ask ourselves.
Thank you, Salah. we are going to conclude today's press conference. I'd just like to say, please, if there are any questions or answers, you can ask them now. We are going to be having phone banking from today until Friday, from 1 to 4 at the center, so people can come together in community to call upon their local representatives to end the siege on Gaza.
Can you possibly share with us what the doctor said and what the teacher said? How was the vision?
So the physician from the physician who's now unemployed from Hackensack Hospital, Jersey Shore, posted a graphic on social media, basically supporting the Palestinian cause. It was one post, one artistic graphic that cost him his job.
What is the artistic graphic?
It's just I don't know how to describe it to you. I can get it to you.
Thank you. And then the other situation?
Which
The teacher.
okay, so you have that.
So the teacher from Perth Amboy, her name is Magdalena Nazir, and she also runs a platform called Teaching While Listening. And what she wrote was, and I'll quote it right now, I'll read it out to you directly. So thank you to the community member that forwarded this in response to the news that the idea that babies that Hamas had beheaded babies was entirely fabricated. So she wrote, she posted, she said, thank you to the community member that forwarded this. Don't accept the violence of our school districts towards Palestinians too. Edit to add feedback from a friend. The email has to mention that more Palestinians are being killed statistically now, massacred, and in the name of equity. This is a double standard. The murder of Palestinians is something that the district should also be acknowledging, and that should also be explicit in the communication that is sent. Then the group commented on that post and said, how is the beheading of Jewish babies a two-sided issue?
Okay, I asked them this. This same entity, I want to get the name of the organization.
Stop anti-Semitism.
StopAntisemitism.com. It's also a website for it, yeah. So yeah, Stop Antisemitism, which is a social media account and an online website. Routinely does this, doxing attempts. And actually, we had a case in New Jersey last year where a teacher faced a similar issue. Her face, with the words Jew hater superimposed over it, was blasted over social media. And what was her crime? Of course, supporting the Palestinian cause. If you look at her content, nothing is anti-Semitic about what she is saying. She is critical of the Israeli war crimes against Palestinians. This is a routine issue that we are experiencing in New Jersey.
I'm focusing on kind of domestic issues of hatred, a number of what you mentioned here today. I was just talking to some American Jewish leaders from northern New Jersey about some of the anti-Semitism they've experienced, swastika spray painted in the wake of this, various harassment that sounds very similar to what you're talking about. I get that you can't fight all battles and you have a worldview, but what is your take on the fact that this is happening on both sides in the United States right now, that there is the anti-Semitism to go along with the anti-Muslim sentiment?
Gina.
That's actually a very good question. So often it's overlooked how intertwined the Muslim and Jewish communities are. We experience the same hatred all the time. And I think that it goes back to unveiling the white supremacy that is very prevalent in American culture. It affects all of us. It has worked very hard to pin us against one another. PAC is doing a very good job of making sure that we are in touch with Jewish community members, making sure that we are standing in solidarity with each other, and hoping to help people understand that this is not a Jewish and Muslim issue, and it's very prevalent based on the similar hatred that we're all experiencing. So.
And if I could, one more for I know you have people there, I know all of you, I'm sure have people there. Israel is premising its invasion of Gaza right now on. Hamas has infiltrated the civilian population. This is what we have to do. I'm way oversimplifying. I get that. To what extent is that true or false in your view? You have people there, you know better than I, better than anyone else in this room. Is it so intertwined that what needs to be happening is happening, as Israel's arguing?
I think that after seeing fabricated stories of 40 beheaded babies and the sexual violence of women, which were completely unsubstantiated, we should all be in agreement that we're no longer taking the Israelis' government or military word as a valid source of information.
I wanted to ask you this question because CBS has talked to many women who have said they were, family members who were raped. We're saying that at this moment there is no issue with the Jewish and Palestinian communities here, but in the same time we're sort of dismissing the pain there as well as Hamas attack.
I'm not dismissing anything.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm also not going to address questions like
I'm
this.
just saying
If
it
there's any other
seems
question?
that you're
Oh,
saying.
I'm sorry, you're further dividing our communities. That's
I'm
not
not,
what
but
I'm
you
saying.
just said
Yes.
they weren't great.
Earlier, somebody mentioned disappointment in elected leaders here in New Jersey, saying that there has been favoritism or
A lopsided.
more sympathy toward the Israeli side of this. Are there specific statements that you're taking issue with? Are there specific politicians who you've been in touch with and you're not happy with your response?
The list is long. I don't know where to begin. From Board of Education to Governor Phil Murphy's office himself, we are deeply disappointed across the state of New Jersey, especially given that we have one of the largest Muslim populations in the nation and one of the largest Palestinian communities in the nation. So for the total disregard of that community's concern, we're just jaw drop. I don't understand how this can be the case. I want to ask the question again. That's okay. Ask the question again.
I just wanted to ask you, like, when you say fabricate, do you think that creates more tensions? Or
Fabricate?
Would you use the word fabricate stories?
Well, okay, so what I will say is this. There's no dismissal of anyone's pain. But that doesn't mean that we should forget about the greater context of what's happening here. People are hurting, yes. Everyone is hurting. But that doesn't where the story does not end there. And we need to take a step back.
Can I just say something real quick also? It's worth pointing out that whenever Palestinians express their pain, there's always, in the same breath, they're expected to also say, oh, but we also support this group, and we support that group, and this, and this, and this. There's never that space for Palestinians to express their pain, which has been documented and has been, there's a record of the Palestinian civilian casualties that's been documented for the past 75 years. It's almost a century.
Yes,
And abuse.
understood. And that's why I was asking, like, I think what can be done? The question is, what can be done?
Palestinian civil society has been calling for three things, mainly. That's the right to return to their ancestral lands, that's the right to self-determination, which is afforded to them by international law, and that's lifting the siege of Gaza and the blockade of Gaza, and the end of the occupation. The Israeli occupation is illegal under international law. They're not following any sort of international, like any sort of law or any body of law. This is what Palestinians are asking for. What they're asking for is extremely reasonable. It's what should be given to them to begin with, and they're only asking for their rights to be upheld. And it's unreasonable also to expect Palestinians, every time they talk about their pain, every time something happens in Gaza, something happens in Palestine, that Palestinians have to come out and say, oh, we're suffering, our home was just bombed, we were kicked out of our land, and we can no longer return. But at the same time, we sympathize with this group and that group, and we condemn this, and it's unreasonable.
Thank you.
Excuse me, for your division, could you tell us what authorities are doing to help with these incidents? Are doing communication? You talked about this being seen all over the state. You mentioned other states, but here locally, have you had any support? And ultimately, what will be the message to other Palestinians that might be watching and might be getting ready to post in favor of Palestine, but then, as you said, might lose their jobs or might get in trouble in school?
Yeah, okay. Just briefly, for anyone that is facing any hate in the state of New Jersey, of course, you can contact Care New Jersey and Palestine Legal. But we are calling on the Attorney General's office and law enforcement across the state of New Jersey to keep an eye out and to listen to their community members when they're calling for help.
So police is not investigating any cases, not talking to you on a daily basis?
I mean, it's a case-by-case basis. There are so many. There are investigations happening. We are pursuing cases.
So when you say you're not happy with authorities, you're not referring necessarily to the police, but more to the
Local officials.
local
Oh,
officials.
my initial statement that, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to clarify,
So the
sorry.
police is doing, according to you, it's following your
Yeah.
needs.
I mean, yeah,
I can speak on behalf of Clifton and what's happening with PAC. Like Dustin said earlier, we have been receiving harassing calls, emails, and social media, and we have been needing to use like our strictest, security protocols to make sure that people that are in the center are meant to be in the center. With that being said, the Clifton local police have been very supportive. They stopped by even before any of our calls were made, and once we did make the calls, they have followed up consistently, and have put us like with direct contact with someone on the force, where we are like continuously up to date with everything that's happening. We're updating on everything that's happening. So on our case, what's happening, we are, in close touch with the Clifton police.
Are there any incidents of businesses being threatened at all, or business owners having to?
well, we have one.
So we actually have a business owner right here. I think he can, if he wants to jump in and answer the question. He owns the Palestine Salon on Main Street.
Who team they against?
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
Yes, hello everybody. Yes, to answer your questions, yes, I received a call 2 days ago to my business, which is my business was closed around 10:48 exactly. And I was in a restaurant with two of my friends, so I received a call. I pick up the phone. Yes, we want to come burn you. We're gonna come burn your business and family, and they hang up. So right away, I went back to the business. I want to see if that call came to the business, because I forward all the calls. If nobody pick up the phone on the business, it comes direct to my cell phone. So I went back to the business, I opened up, and I checked my caller ID, and I had everything and documents in my phone. So yeah, the phone call was received in the business. And because nobody picked it up, it was forwarded to my cell phone. And the individual said that they want to come burn me, burn my business, and burn my family. So what I did, I called the police and I reported
Yes, your name, sir, please.
Raed, O-D-R-A-E-D, last name O-D-E-H.
I have a question. Isabella with Local University. Recently, we did have a peaceful protest for city and lives. How do you want to talk to universities about ensuring safety for our students?
So I think part of the original statement that I was supposed to read was basically Columbia's demands, because Columbia has been facing a lot of Columbia and many students. We've also heard some in Rutgers and Brunswick. We've heard some from Harvard. We've heard countless other students. And the main thing is to treat them not as terrorists, basically, because that's how they're being treated. They're getting the utmost law enforcement present at all their rallies. Even Rutgers and Brunswick was actually going to have an event, and due to all of the security that they were going to put on the event, they were forced to make it go online because they were scared for their students and their population. And I want to let you know, like right now, we've been getting countless emails from students about what's happening, and they're afraid. One student wanted to come wearing a mask because they didn't want to be identified. So I think it's really on the university to keep up their own principles, right? Their own principles and their own values, and to continue to maintain the safety of their students by just being there how they would with any other student group and not treating them as, crazy terrorist organization, which they're not. It's also worth noting that when I was a university student active with the students for Justice in Palestine, we were always required to hire security for our events. You go to the Student Association, there is security. But for any SGP event, you were automatically asked if you need to hire security. If you do not hire security, you cannot have your event. We would have to have, at some universities, at Brooklyn College specifically, if you were to go to the SJP events there, you would have to bring your ID, you'd have to sign in. It was a whole process just to go to a student event. This was not the case for any other student group.
Yeah, and
just again to highlight, because I wasn't able to get into like the full detail, but in the Columbia incident, one of the members of SSI, which is the Students Supporting Israel protest attendees, was a self-identified Columbia officer, and he basically said to a radio station, "I hope every one of these people die." So what they're asking for is basically not to have those people policing your rallies.
Thank you so much. This concludes the press conference.
Harry? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I figured. Well, yeah. Have you still Roberts?
They're standing there. You cannot. I appreciate
I know you guys are all packing your stuff, but I just want to let you know we just got news that an American citizen mom with 2 kids are stuck in Gaza. Her kids are not American citizens, but she's on her way now if anyone wants to speak to her. Just putting that out there if you want.